This is a picture of my brother and I on the day of our high school graduation from Armio. We graduated with honors, and we were very happy. I saw friends thrilled and families bringing flowers, balloons, and limousines. Our parents gave us each a small gift, but I'll never forget my mother's wisdom as we looked around. She said, "I'm very proud of you. You both did an exceptional job. But you're all supposed to graduate from high school. Your college graduation will be the important one. A high school diploma isn't enough anymore. You want more than that."
How did you feel when you graduated college?
Boy, it's a good question. I had mixed feelings. I was happy for sure. However, I wanted to go to med school right after college, and I didn't prepare very well actually to go to med school right during my last year of college. There are a lot of things you need to do to go to med school in order to sort of line that up, and application processes and testing and all those things. And so my expectation was, I always thought I was going to go to medical school right after college, and that didn't happen, and I didn't have a job coming out of college. And so I was a little nervous, actually, coming out of college. I was excited, but I was a little bit nervous, yeah.
Really good. Really good. It's interesting because it's very different than a high school graduation. A high school graduation is something that's almost inevitable, and some students don't graduate. So I don't mean to make light of people who find it really difficult and they have all these obstacles in high school, but it's one of those things that you start in kindergarten and you're expected to get done in the 12th grade. You're expected to graduate. But with college, not everybody graduates. And it's a lot of hard work, and it's a lot of dedication that you have to pour into it yourself, and you don't have someone saying, like a parent saying, you have to get up and go to school. You don't have teachers who are saying you have to turn that in. You know, it very much is on your own merit. And there were a number of students who I started with my freshman year of college who didn't make it to graduation. There are a number of students when I did end up going to Sac State and transferring there. There are a number of students who I started with who didn't finish the program with me. And so you feel really good and accomplished because you know you've done something that not everybody has been able to complete and finish.
I was extremely proud. It was a really special day. My family was there. Both my grandparents, or grandmas, one of which lived on the other side of the country, and she had to fly in an airplane to be there, which was a big deal for me because I had only flown on an airplane once. And so that was a really nice time. And also, I was graduating from college with my older brother. It had taken him 2 years longer than it had taken me. And for us, he had some more bumps along the way, but for us to be able to walk together and graduate that same day was very special.
How I felt? I don't know a word for that. It was joy for sure. I think though that it was a big turning point for me to be able to know that yes, we've been able to do this, and let's keep on doing the right thing and choose to do the right thing for the rest of our lives.
The day I graduated from college, I was very proud of the accomplishment that I had. The graduation was after my motorcycle accident, and it was initially my criminal justice degree was to help me promote within the police department, and that career, it was apparent at that time, was gone. I already had an amputation. My right leg was amputated below the knee due to nerve damage in the collision. So it was anticlimactic essentially. But I was very proud of the accomplishment that I and my wife, who helped me and pushed me and made it easy for me essentially to take care of the rest of the family, and then allowed me the time to study to go ahead and get through there. So it was a sense of pride, but it wasn't. It was just a first step, as I intimated before. At that point, my goal was to work as a criminal prosecutor, as an attorney, but you can't get there without having law school under your belt. So graduate school was next on the agenda, but it was a major stepping stone. It was a long time coming because I did it on a part-time basis. Oh, that was great when I passed the bar exam. there's stories to that too, but without going into a lot of information, I was already working at the Sacramento District Attorney's Office as one of their graduate interns, and it was simply one that if I passed the bar, I could continue working and hopefully get hired on as a deputy district attorney. And if I didn't pass, you're out of a job. So you had to pass, and fortunately I passed the first time around. I put a lot of time and a lot of studying into preparing for that bar exam. And it's a 3-day examination, if nobody has told you. It's a 3-day exam for 6 hours a day. And turns out that my wife goes into labor with one of our children on the last day of the bar exam. So there wasn't enough pressure on me already. But we managed to get through it, managed to pass, and I felt great at that point.
Well, it was a very, very moving thing to me because I have a 7-year-old, I have a 5-year-old, and I have a 2-year-old, in which they experienced Daddy working hard to get his degree. They seen me in the office doing papers, doing presentations, practicing in the mirror, those type of things. And then when I finished, when I graduated and walked the line at Arco Arena, my kids came down and we all took a picture together. So that was a very meaningful thing in my life because my kids got to see me graduate. Not only did I finish, because it was also one of my goals coming out of high school, was that I would finish college for my mom, you know, to be the first in the family to finish college. But I never knew that I would have these kids and they would also experience me finishing college. So it's a great feeling. You know, I'm the only one in my family to get my degree, and hopefully that can give my kids incentive to graduate and go to college.
College graduation was an exciting day. You get through high school and you feel like you had to go. The law said you had to go, your parents took you every day, but college was the first time you go away on your own and nobody's around nagging you to study and to go to class. So this was an educational feat, the first one on my own, and that was an incredible feeling. There were so many things that could have tripped me up. It's doubly sweet because I already knew I was accepted to medical school, and very quickly I was going to be really achieving in a dream that I'd had for years. And so part of it feels like it's just a stepping stone, but to know that lots of people don't get through this, very exciting time, and I'm very blessed to be able to share it with my family.
Relieved, and I'm sure I was a little anxious about what I was going to do. I didn't have a job lined up. I ended up moving from Santa Cruz to Morro Bay and needed to find work, so I just took whatever job I could get.
I was very excited and very nervous because I knew that I was kind of progressing on to the next point in my life, the next stage of my education. I knew that I only had a couple of months before I got ready to start medical school, which was a totally different experience for me. And so I had a mixture of emotions, but the top two were feeling excited and feeling nervous.
I remember being incredibly excited graduating from college, and then also incredibly scared because there had been this 4 years of kind of ramp up and getting the education with this like timestamp on it of in May of this year, I'm done, I go on out. And I think what was scary about it is knowing that from there on out, I couldn't really blame a professor. I couldn't blame my parents. I really only had myself to rely on. And I think that's why at that point I looked at it and said, I'm glad I've learned these skills of working hard, of depending on myself, of asking for help when I need it, and then also just respecting the authority and the experiences of other people. In my business especially, we learn so much from each other. So I have this really great journalism education, but much of my post-education, my kind of graduate work, has taken place in newsrooms, and it's taken place under the tutelage of mentors. So whether it was somebody that I wrote scripts for, or somebody that taught me the nuances of reporting, or how to ask people questions, you name it, that's part of the education. We have a real, I think, mentorship program within journalism for those who last. And it's a career with a really high burnout. But for those who last, you last because you've developed skills of really kind of hanging in it for the long haul. It's not an easy career. The hours aren't great. The money's not as good as you think it is. And it's hard on a personal life. So for those who decide to stick with it, regardless of whatever opportunity or career you're in, I think you do it through the kind of continued education that you seek out. And sometimes that happens in a classroom, sometimes you go to graduate school or beyond, and sometimes you find your own education through seeking out people who know something that's more than you and asking them to share that information. And I think what you find is that most of the time people are more than happy to tell you how they did something or why something works better this way than maybe that way.
So today you go from being students in a class to being members of a class, a very select class. You face the future with your heads held high because you are now doctors. Dr. Michael Ames. Dr. Doris Ackerman. Dr. Hunter Patch Adams.
Looks like a girl, but she's a flame. So bright she can burn your eyes. Better look the other way. You can try, but you'll never forget her name. She's on top of the world, hottest of the hottest girls. Say, oh, we got our feet on the ground and we're burning it down. Got our head in the clouds and we're not coming down. This girl is on fire.
Family and friends of our graduates, I present to you the graduating class of 2012 from UCLA's College of Letters and Science.
Congratulations to all of you. Enjoy the evening, reflect on your future, and come back and serve UCLA. Go Bruins!
Do you have any advice about college for middle school students?
The best piece of advice I can give somebody in middle school at this point is first start dreaming. I talk with my students or my patients here in the office all the time, and I'll ask them what their dreams are. And so many people have not even thought about what they want to do 2 and 3 weeks from now, more or less 2 and 3 years from now. I think the key for me is that at 11 I knew what my goal was and I knew what I would have to do. I remember times in high school I was so frustrated about studying, and I said to my mom, "Why are you pushing me so hard for grades?" She said, "You set the goal. If you want to change your goal, we'll stop pushing. But you set the goal, and this is what you would need to do." And I remember that, and it reminded me why I was doing what I was doing. I didn't always like it. Set your goals, though. If you don't know where you're going, you have no idea where you'll end up. Start dreaming about what you want to do. And the other thing that I've seen is that many people start to set goals and dreams and say, "But I can't do it." And I have to tell you, so many times I've seen amongst my friends and the people I've studied with, there is nothing you can't do if you're going to be diligent and you're going to work hard for it. I've seen people have to do a lot of hard work to get where they wanted to get. But if they were determined enough, they got it achieved. And I think that's true for any student at your school. Set your dreams, and then be determined in making sure those goals, come to fruition.
To first work hard in school so that you will qualify for college and so that you can advance.
Sure. Couple pieces of advice. It's important for your own maturity, your own not just education in a formal sense, but learning about life and learning about other people, meeting other people, developing relationships that will continue on into the future, being exposed to a wide variety of topics so that you can figure out what you want to do with your life. It can be scary trying to figure that out, when you start college or when you graduate from high school. Many people these days, there seems to be a big push to have an idea of what you want to do. It's fine if you have that idea, but the kids, it's absolutely fine if you don't, because college is one of the big times in your life where you're not necessarily under pressure to find a job, at least not a full-time job, and you can explore different options.
With a middle school kid, you have to really tell them that it's going to help you. You got to have them to look at the big picture. Just because they're in middle school right now, that the big picture is continuing on to high school and then going to college and then getting that degree, to whereas you have completed your goals, and now once you get that degree, there's a job that's waiting for you that's going to pay you for all the time that you spent in school. Now they're going to pay you for what you're worth. All the education you went through is rewarding, because you're actually getting paid for what you like to do.
Well, if you haven't picked up on the theme through this altogether, you can be very successful as a carpenter. You can be very successful as an electrician, but you're going to have a program to study that vocation. Now, you may be on the job training as an apprentice, but the money that I'm making now as an attorney, and I've been doing this now for 30 years, is well above what I would have made ever as a police officer. That wasn't the incentive for going into being an attorney, but it was something that I could do other than the only example I knew of an amputee at the time of my recuperation. He was a clerk at a 7-Eleven with his stump, would lay on the counter, and he would punch the cash register buttons that they had. So that can't be a high-paying job. It's got to take care of a family of 7 at that point. And there had to be something else out there. And we had to look around with the education and skills that I had and the interests that I had as to what would fit that. And being that I was already into criminal law, you're either going to prosecute or you're going to defend. As a police officer, I'm not going to defend. So I went to criminal prosecution. I've been very successful at that, and I love that job. And I continue to work at it for 30 years. So the best advice I've got is you're going to have to go ahead and decide what it is you want to do. Doesn't mean, as I've had also, you can't change your mind. But you've got more studying. If you study in one line of vocation or education, and you decide to change that completely, you've got to take all the classes that are prerequisite for you to make that change. So you're going to be studying a lot more. So the more change you have, the more studying you're going to have, but that doesn't mean it should stop you. But you've got to figure out a way to go ahead and not be a perennial student and get out in the workforce to earn a living.
I would tell any middle school student to definitely apply yourself from the time that you're in middle school all the way through the time that you're in high school, because the preparation that you do prior to getting to college will help to make sure that you are successful while you're in college. Sometimes kids feel that just because they're in the 8th grade or the 7th grade, they still have a lot of time, and what they're doing at this point in time doesn't really matter, it doesn't count, but that's not true. It really, really does, because the habits that you set now will reflect on the habits that you set when you're in high school, and those habits will kind of continue on once you get to college as well.
I think the most important advice is that everybody can make it a reality if they want it to be. There's no such thing as it costs too much or it's too hard, because if someone wants to do it, they can make it happen. I was from a family that was very poor. I was a free and reduced lunch student when I was going to school, and my parents were not going to pay for my college. And so I worked very hard. I worked jobs, but also I received grants and scholarships, and I was able to attend a very well-known school. And so it can happen if you want it to happen. When I got my master's degree, I was a single parent with 3 children. I was poor. I was teaching at the time, and so I didn't make a lot of money. And again, I was able to access student loans and figure it out. And I'm still paying for them today, but I was able to achieve it. And so don't ever let somebody tell you you can't do it, because if you want to, you can.
To really think seriously about it, ask a lot of questions, talk with your parents, and just try to get the right thought process where you know that you are asking and doing the right thing for your life. And I think what I'm trying to say is to follow your mind. Let your mind lead you. I'm not sure at what age that ought to start, but I think it's the beginning of a thinking process that can make you take the right steps so that you can be successful as you grow older. The ability to think and to reason and to do the right thing, to make the right decisions, is the most important thing that can come out of this kind of development.
College teaches you how to learn. And so the most important advice is just to learn. Just grab hold of the experience, embrace it all, and don't stop until you finish, until you reach that goal. Don't stop. Just no matter how hard it gets, no matter how difficult that class is, no matter how irrelevant that class seems to your degree or to your life, that class is teaching you how to learn. It's teaching you how to think critically. It's teaching you how to excel. That experience is teaching you how to network and just learn from other people. And so just embracing the whole experience, embracing every single class, even when it's difficult, even when it's hard, just knowing that it's good for you. It's one of those things that it's really, really good for you, and it's really worth the effort. At the end of it, you'll think, ah, that was worth it.
I would say, so what I would say is, no matter what you choose to do or where you choose to study, that you need to end up somewhere where you love what you do. Because not everybody needs to be a doctor or a lawyer or a judge or a teacher or whatever to have happiness in their world. And I think that's really important, that you impact the world in a positive way and that you're happy in what you do. That being said, I think going to college again expands those possibilities greatly and really gives you a lot of options as to what you can do with your education and what you can do with your life and in your world. Further, I think it stretches the envelopes and bounds of the people you meet, the things you think about. All of us, whether we like it or not, we live in this very small box growing up. and it's sort of defined by your parents and your close friends and those things. And when you go to college, you're exposed to all of these different ideas and things, and it really is, it's quite a wonderful thing, actually, even without the part of getting a job part. It's really great for your brain and your life.
I have one last hope for you, which is something that I already had at 21. The friends with whom I sat on graduation day have been my friends for life. They are my children's godparents, the people to whom I've been able to turn in times of real trouble, people who have been kind enough not to sue me when I took their names for Death Eaters. At our graduation, we were bound by enormous affection, by our shared experience of a time that could never come again, and of course, by the knowledge that we held certain photographic evidence that would be exceptionally valuable if any of us ran for Prime Minister. So today, I wish you nothing better than similar friendships. And tomorrow, I hope that even if you remember not a single word of mine, you remember those of Seneca, another of those old Romans I met when I fled down the classics corridor in retreat from career ladders in search of ancient wisdom. As is a tale, so is life. Not how long it is, but how good it is what matters. I wish you all very good lives. Thank you very much.